Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Avery, but I go by Soavecito, and I'm a horror content creator. Welcome to episode 61 of Whispers of Horror, where I have an awesome guest, as in Nicholas, who is working on a game called Crab Meat. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, dude. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can't complain. I'm happy that we got to do this. I see that you have an interesting game that I found on X, and I want to know a little bit about it, if you don't mind describing what it is and why you named it Crab Meat.
Why are you creepy? So it is a first-person point-and-click survival horror game set
Okay.
in the Antarctic fisheries region, where you're a prisoner tasked with paying off your debt to the Fudo state by collecting king crabs. And
Okay.
it's called crab meat. I mean, you're obviously collecting crabs, but it's sort of like are you the crab meat, or is the crab meat the crabs we collect along the way? I don't. I like the meat evoking flesh. It's sort of sung true to me.
Gotcha. Gotcha. How long have you been? Clearly, the game's not out yet, but how long have you been
Yeah.
in development with the game?
So I started on this around mid-February this year,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been developing it solo-ish. I have a sound designer working with me as well on the game.
Gotcha, gotcha. I want to know a little bit more about you. Can you tell me a little bit about your background in game development when you started, like what your story
Yeah.
is?
Yeah. So I originally started basically straight out of university. I started a studio with my co-founder Winston Tang, and we made a studio called Samurai Punk, and we did a bunch of indie games for about 10 years. I think it was nearly 10 years when we closed in 2023. And we made stuff that people might know. None of them were horror games, but they were like action, adventure, family-friendly stuff, or political satire. So we did Screencheat, we did The American Dream, we did Justice Sucks, we did, and most recently was KILLBUG, which was like a Devil Daggersy hyper demon type action FPS. So we sort of spanned genres and platforms. We were like a PC console developer pretty much the whole way through. Um, and while I was there, I started off as the art director and mostly just doing art and level design. And then I sort of slowly became more of a designer and a generalist. And I sort of built up practice in learning how to program, doing technical art. And that's how I started to become more capable of doing sort of solo projects. So I was doing side projects while at Samurai Punk. Killbug itself was a side project that then became a Samurai Punk project, and I guess sort of Crunch Meat is the evolution of that creative process. Where now that I'm working by myself, I'm able to just do nearly everything. I'm still pretty bad at sound, which is why I still like to work with sound designers. And Mitch, who's doing the sound design on Crab Meat, was the Samurai Punk sound designer and composer for 5 years. So I've worked with him for a long time. It's great to still work with him. It's a good dude. So yeah, that's sort of my background.
Gotcha, gotcha. When you let's talk about some things that you do when you're not game developing, like when you're like away from the computer, not working on a game. Like,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that pique your interest or some of your hobbies that you like to do?
Yeah, man. I picked up running in the last like year and a bit. One of my friends got into running, and he's like now basically just doing marathons on the reg. But I'm like, I was medium overweight, so I was like, okay, I'm running a lot recently. I live next to a park, so that's great. I was really had like a gardening phase, which I still kind of am into. I have a lot of
That's
house
cool.
plants, have some stuff on my balcony, um, and I live in Melbourne, Australia, and we have a lot of really good live music venues here still. So I like to go to punk shows. We went to me and my partner went to like a hip hop show recently. We saw, fuck, who was it? It was Paris, Texas, Little Yachty, and Tyler all played in the one gig. So that
Damn, I
was really
missed
good.
out.
And we're doing,
I missed
yeah, it was
out.
great. A bit messed up. We didn't realize it was an all ages show. So
Gotcha,
that
gotcha.
was a surreal experience. I really discovered just how old I am. Um, and um, but yeah, so the live music in Melbourne's pretty good. That was a big venue, but I'm going to like a tiny gig tonight actually, and that'll just like be a punk show, and that'll be nice.
Nice.
Quite a change. I like to cook a lot as well. I'm like the cook in the family in the house,
Okay.
I cook like everything that I can get my hands on.
Like crab meat. I had to.
You know
I had
what?
to.
Like that's the funny thing. I have never cooked. I do like a seafood boil. I can't
Okay.
afford the crab in the freaking crab seafood boil. It's too
I,
expensive.
listen, I respect it.
It
I
was
respect it.
potentially an inspiration for this game. Yeah, I love crab. I just can't afford it. Not king crab. King crab we can get here, but it's mud crab is the Australian crab of choice.
Gotcha, gotcha.
We have a lot because it's local. It's huge. It's like a Singapore style like chili mud crab, which is very popular. And that is what I would be making if I could afford it or get it on easily, but I cannot, unfortunately.
Now, is it true, like the stereotypes or like the like myths that the animals in Australia is like humongous, like spiders are like 10 times as like big as it normally around the world?
100%. They're all true. No, nothing is really. No, the real truth about Australia is that no one lives in the place that's dangerous. So we all live
Gotcha.
on the coast in cities. Like, was it 95% or more than 95% of Australians live in these like three cities,
Uh,
and there's just nothing here that's a threat. We have no mammals that are a
okay.
threat at all. We don't have bears. We don't have mountain lions. We don't have. I'm just comparing to America, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't have. What else? What is
Wolves.
it? Big mammals. We don't have wolves. No, we don't have any of those. We have dingoes, but they're so rare, and they only
Yeah.
live in the north, center north. It's just not a threat. Um, the spiders are like tiny. Or
Okay.
the most. I mean, that's the real truth is that the most venomous things are really really small.
Yes.
And the snakes are all in the desert. So it's just the Australians like to perpetuate the myth though because it's funny and it keeps out the tourists.
You know, honestly, like I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of them. I'm like, I'm not gonna. Do you think my ass is gonna go to Australia? Do you see those fucking spiders? I'm not
The
gonna
kangaroos
lie.
though, they'll fuck you up. The
Yes,
kangaroos are huge.
they're jacked. I'm not gonna lie. I
Yeah.
would not throw hands with a kangaroo because
No.
I'm good. How do you find time between like developing your game and like doing the things you'd like to do for your personal life and like your family? Like, do you have a good balance between that, or do you find like there's a struggle between finding time for what you need to do and finding time for the people you love?
Yeah. I think that is something that sort of changed over my career. When I started, I was definitely classic game dev, crunching, working 7 days a week.
Hmm.
Um, and over time that evolved into a sort of attempt to create like a healthy work-life balance. One thing that changed is I literally just track my hours, and if I do more than 40 hours in a week, I just stop.
That's a good
And that's
idea.
not always possible. Like sometimes you've got a deadline you just have to hit,
Yeah.
and you need to communicate that with your partner, and you're like, okay, I'm going to work late this Friday because I've just got to get this demo done, or I got this event we got to go to, or there's always industry events. There's like local demo nights and stuff I have to go to. I have to want to go to because I want to demo the game.
Hmm.
But it's just understanding the priorities and like making sure that if you don't do the things outside of the game dev, your game dev will suffer as a result in the end. And I guess I've just been doing it long enough to notice those moments when it's like very clear that the creative work is suffering from a lack of external life. Um, like you just become is if you just make games and play games, like
Hmm.
there's nothing feeding the creativity. Like you need to, if you can afford it, you need to travel. If you're hungry, you should cook nice food. That's if you can, and even if it's cheap, like you gotta just try and like bring joy to the outside of your life, so that when you're making stuff, it can be like more interesting.
I feel like if I ever go to Australia, I'm gonna have to try some of your food because like I
Oh
feel like
yeah, for sure.
for just the passion I hear just in your voice, it makes me feel like first of all
I
I'm
have made
hungry.
multiple cooking prototypes as well for games. It just never shipped any of them.
I mean, your game's called Crab. Yeah, got it. Try some of your food, man. Like, I think that's pretty dope. During the process of when you're like doing your game development, do you ever, and honestly, just not only just game development, like even during the struggle of time finding time between like your game, your dev life and your personal life, do you ever like have fatigue or burnout?
Yes, all the time. Um, Especially when it's funny because I have like burnout in both sides. Like I have burnout when the game development is not providing something. Like trying just to relax and play games is really hard because it's like I feel like I haven't, even though maybe I've done a full week of work, like I just haven't done anything interesting or creative that week. So it makes me like want to pull up a side project or want to prototype something or do something that's like really juicy and fun. And the reverse is true. Like if I just have a heavy week, I need to like take a Monday off or something, or find extra time to like go somewhere and get out of the house, because it's just like otherwise it's not going to get better. It's only just going to get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a push and pull on both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten to the point where you ever decided to like call it quits, or like this is not for me anymore? Like did that ever cross your mind at any point during your your content creating? I'm sorry, development.
No, it did. And it was sort of, it kind of, a couple of times, but the biggest time was definitely during Samurai Punk.
Mm-hmm.
There were some phases where I wasn't sure what my role was. I was sort of in a more business role at the time, and I wasn't. This is basically between me being the art director and us hiring artists who then were better than me, and then me finding a role as a designer. In the gulf in the middle there, I was mostly just doing business, and I was doing tech art, or I was filling in. I could kind of do everything badly.
Sure.
So I would sort of fill in on projects that needed filling in on. And I would like find new jobs for us to do because we did some client work as well to keep the bills paid. We had staff, we had an office. And I was like, this whatever this is not for me. And I was like, oh, well, either I need to change or it needs to change, or like the studio's not providing what I need, so I should leave. And in the end, I did eventually find a role. It took a lot of side projects, basically. That's what got me out of it. Is I just started being like teaching myself more stuff so that I could become more useful again to the company and provide a service that was both useful for the company and then also useful for me creatively, so that I could find, because my background is in art and I don't really my art. It was this like very demoralizing feeling of because I wasn't doing art full time, so I wasn't getting better at any rate as well. I was like, my art skills were declining and nothing else was getting better to compensate. So yeah, it was a tough period, and it probably took like 2 years to sort of go in and out of, to sort of feel good again about making stuff, and was confident that I had any really tangible skill to offer to the team or intangible skill to offer just like creatively as a developer.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. When you hit those phases, I feel like you really realize like that adversity. If you can get through this, then you have potential to go through any adversity you face in the future. Like even me, like I hit those walls where I'm like, I don't want to make content. I don't want to do interviews. I don't want to do it anymore. And then it's just like, it's more like discipline. It's just like just get through it. Just take it one day at a time, and just finding the little keys to take that stress relief off your body. Because like, again, doing either content creating, movie producing, or just even game developing is just like, it is grueling because you're going to go through highs and lows and everything like that. Which leads into my next question is, what are some of the highs during your developing, and what some of the adversities you have faced, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, some of the highs. Well, it's all been terrible. So,
okay.
No, recently, like Crab Meat finally, like we had like a TikTok that did pretty well, and I started to actually get some engagement. The initial announce did okay as well.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of moments. Usually for me, it's very personal. Like as in, it only really affects me, and it's just about me. Mm-hmm. Where I've got like some design hole I'm stuck in, and the game is playtesting badly for X reason. And this basically happens on every project I've done, where like something is just not working. And it's usually a shower thought, or like a thought I have while I'm traveling. Because there was a phase where I used to have to travel a lot for work. Like I've been to America quite a lot. And while I'm not at the computer, not working, that's when I sort of crack something, come back, do it, play test it and like validate the theory, and then like you can see it on people's faces. Like for me, that's how I validate anything, is just like watching people play, watching their response, and like that's the high that I'm like chasing always when I'm making games, and it's always been that case. My background when we before like I guess even before Samurai Punk and before now was game jams, and they're like instant validation. Like you make something in like 48 hours, and you get people to play it right afterwards, and you just like you don't have any time to feel sad about the work. you just have to get it done, and then when it's done, people like it, so you just get the high of the production.
Yeah.
But then once you start making bigger stuff, you get people call it the valley of despair, I believe, and I think it can apply to any creative practice and work, as that takes place over a long period of time. It's after the sort of that initial joy of starting something new, and you're just making it, and you need to find ways to push through that valley. So like playtesting.
It's like going
sort of reinforcing.
You're kind of saying like going through the motions. It becomes like.
Yes, it feels really. You feel like, am I actually making something interesting here, or am I just, spinning my wheels? And for me, I find it's really validating to run like one-on-one play tests where I just watch someone play, I shut up, and I just like get the energy from them, and I sort of absorb their vibes, and I try to take that back into the game. And if I don't, I really notice like if there's 2 weeks playtest, like I can feel myself like falling off in terms of energy.
Yeah.
And that's sort of been a sort of changing, because without a team around, especially because they can really help working with other people, and they're sort of everyone's on their own different rhythms, so sometimes everyone can sort of pick each other up when they're down.
Sure.
So when you're at home, like I work from home now, and I really need that. I need other people's energy to sort of enforce. I can't just like sit in a little box and work alone forever.
Do you prefer being on a team versus being a solo dev? Is it like, or is that like something depending on you go project by project?
Yes, yes. I don't prefer. No. I guess yes to the last part. It's definitely project by project. I don't prefer one or the other. I think it suits different kinds of games. I think the more personal something is, the less I like to have other people involved, and the more, I don't know, of a capital G game I'm making. We made some pretty video games in the past. It's nicer just to have a team, because it's not about the individual. It's about like, just the overall experience we're delivering. And I guess the only caveat to that is that there's like phases of production where I prefer the team to always be smaller, no matter what I'm making. Like I want the fewest people around as possible at the start of a project, and at the end I usually want the most people, because it's at the end when I need that most support, right? So even if it's a small game, it's like I still desperately need anyone to chip in, because it's just like I just need someone to come in with fresh eye that isn't depressed about this thing, so they can like lift it up. And get it across the finish line.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. Like, as for even me, like I realized that trying to do content and then having a podcast and trying to do all like finding peoples and screen people and do all this stuff, it would be so much easier to have like a couple people to help you during this process to help just delegate some of the responsibilities instead of being all on your shoulders. But I also understand like when it comes to like you have an idea and other people, it becomes too many cooks in the kitchen, and you're like, oh, now totally, this in my idea anymore, or is this just it loses the idea of what you wanted to create.
The other part of the too many cooks equation is the flexibility. Not necessarily even if maybe you're all aligned on the vision, you all know what you want to make, but the speed at which you can shift gears is slower because there's a communication time that is literally just required. Yeah. So we are all aligned on pillar on A, and we all agree it should go to B. You've got to discuss now, how does it get to B? Whereas one person on their own, or maybe a smaller group, can just sort of have a quick call and quickly just do it. And that's sort of where it's nice to have flexibility in like the team or just the way you can operate.
Yeah.
If you have like sort of like a brain trust you can work with, that's a
Mm-hmm.
cool way to do it as well. Where you have people you can go to when you need external ideas or external confirmation, but then maybe sort of can become a recluse again back when you're just like, okay, now I'm just doing it.
I get you. I'm gonna ask you one more question, and I kind of want to get to know more about your game, Crab Meat.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a project idea that you've had that has never made it to light, but you would love it to become a thing?
Right. An existing project. Because I mean, I
Or it
think
could be
I'm very
it could be like
fortunate.
an idea that you had that just never
No.
made it, but it could be like you in your heart you want it to be a thing.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say like I've just been very fortunate that I think I've been able to make.
Okay.
We haven't in my past. Those are the ideas that usually got made.
Mm-hmm.
The bats we were pretty diligent about prototyping through process games, and even now that's the process I usually just prototype them straight away. And usually the projects die because they're bad, not
Mm-hmm.
because or they the idea was good, but this particular execution of bad. Ice it, come back later maybe with a fresh direction. I don't have like a sort of a backlog. Oh, that's not totally true. I do have a design doc that has like 80 ideas or something in it. That it's like one day I'll make some of these. Um, there was a okay. I have a good example. Shortly after making Screencheat, we wanted to make a game that was like, and I think I still always kind of come back to this sort of as a premise. We wanted to make a game that was like another one of these twists on gameplay behaviors in games. So Screen Cheat was about like breaking rules, about players cheating in games, right? And we always wanted to make a game about save scumming as a concept, a game that literally mechanically played with the concept of save scumming and like integrated that into maybe into a roguelike context or into a randomizer or where like, oh, if you abuse the save scumming, the game fights back based on how much you save scum. That was like a dead. I think there's like 3 dead prototypes of that game. It just never came to be. But it's like
Yeah.
there's something very compelling about it. There's like about games where you're like pushing the rules or like pushing what's like a standard expectation of players. Because like we all kind of accept that save scumming is the thing that people do in games, but
Yeah.
I don't think I've played anything ever that is like acknowledges the existence of that as like internally inside the game.
Yeah, no, I mean it's definitely an interesting idea. But I could also see like I agree with you. I don't really know of that, and that comes to mind. But it's funny. I brought up before that I found your game on X or it was on TikTok. I found it. I just can't remember
Yeah.
but I found it, and it piqued my interest because it like for a second I saw like the crate, and then then 2 seconds later I saw all like the animations of of crabs, and I was just like, this looks sick. And it's just funny why I'm bringing it up is because right before I saw your game, I was playing a game called Lone Shark. I don't know if you heard of that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, no, Lone Chuck, yeah.
Yeah, so which is funny. I have an interview with them later next month. But something that scares me the most is open water. I'm afraid
Yeah.
of thalassophobia and everything like that. So anything that has to do with water just I gravitate towards. So it's just funny that like I feel like everything's coinciding with each other. But I want to know like why did you go with this approach of
Yeah.
you have to buy pay off with the your catches to a person to pay off your debt?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the raw inspiration for the game was I was inspired. Like I've watched it in the past when I was a kid, and I've not watched it since. But something about the TV show Deadliest Catch really.
Okay.
So if people don't know, it's the one where they're fishing for I think crabs in the Bering Sea, and it's the big ocean, tiny people on a boat. People are dying just from like getting knocked off, and they bring in these big hauls of crabs. And something about the big hauls of crabs to me was extremely disgusting every time. And there's too many legs in one place, you know.
Get that.
And so that was sort of the initial pivot, but the sort of the drive for the narrative is definitely driven by like the state of the world and like the sort of return to feudalism. That's why the game is set in the feudo state of Australia. And it's not like it's obviously going to be a different kind of feudalism, but where, you know, everyone's poor, right? And there are very few people who are very, very rich. And it's a very simple inspiration. It's a very obvious inspiration. And it's just like dealing with that concept of the world and everyone lives in debt. And this is like taken to the extreme of like, what if the smallest amount of debt put you in prison and you're now going to have to pay off that debt by doing just like menial labor that no one actually do or needs. It's like, no one needs these fucking crabs, you know? Right? This is not important work.
I hope that's a text in the game.
Your debt of $600.
Yeah, I hope that's text in the game. Nobody needs this fucking crabs. It would be perfect subtitle or dialogue that people needs to read. Like, I think that would be dope.
Yeah. So that's definitely where it came from. It's so there are two things of like, there's this real life thing that people do that is quite dangerous and quite interesting. And like mechanically it's interesting. It's different because there's a lot of fishing games out there, but I don't know. There are some crabbing. Specifically, there's actually the Deadliest Catch Simulator. You know, Dredge is cool. I like that game.
One of my favorites, yes.
And then, you know, the premise sort of came naturally from there for me. And no, it's set in Australia because like that's my sort of position in the world, and that made sense for me to extrapolate like the shitty future we could exist in. I think the game also happened just before the last election in Australia. And,
okay.
To the I don't know how many Australians you have watching, but this is like Clive Palmer's Australia. So I'll leave that out there for people to understand. But he's a piece of shit. And yeah, it just felt natural.
Gotcha. How do you think your game can capitalize like the horror aspect or the horror genre in a way?
Yeah, I mean, so this the weird thing is the game is like falls into a very strange space because it's not. It's like it's scary. You know, it's because I'm not actually that. I don't play a lot of horror games, so it's just to be totally transparent.
Okay.
I want to make this, and am making it to be. It's quite systemic. So like there's not a lot of scripted behaviors in the game and the way it works. Like, the fishing mechanics are not on like a schedule. Like it's kind of up to the player to do the things, and I want a lot of the sort of moments to happen organically. So the like what I'm trying to provide is like this sort of like I have like an immersive sim or like a background, and a lot of the gameplay drives the moments that happen. So like the reason the game is point and click. Oh yeah, so I guess I should dial back to that. Like it's a first person point and click game where you can move around in first person, but you play exclusively with the mouse. And the drive behind that is to make it like sort of, I want to bring the top down Resident Evil or the third person Resident Evil jank into first person, right? Because that tension that those games provide to combat scenarios, I find really satisfying. Like I'm not super interested in like resource management as an element of tension, but I am really interested in like mechanical friction that creates moments to, like as an enemy approaching, you know, I've got to turn my character the right way before I can even try to attack them. And you know, some of this is like leaning into the strengths of it's just me working on this really. So I think that is kind of one of the most interesting things about the game. That, and there's a lot of downtime that's like very chill. which is why I think it's like Dredge and a little bit of Resident Evil in there. It's like not. I don't know what a different kind of horror game to compare it to would be, but it's like
No, I think
there's a lot of
Dredge is a
game play.
perfect idea of what you're trying to do because like I actually enjoy wherever like games that are complete like a horror game where it's just not all straight horror, scary, jump scare shit. Like
Yeah,
it can get too much, but I also think it's a good idea because then people tend to let their guards down when
yeah,
everything's just all calm and peaceful and boom there's something that's it's the fear of not knowing what's going to come next, the unpredictability
yeah.
that makes great games great. So I wanted to ask, like, I know you said it's a point and click, but is there like what are the like is the elements going to be a factor, like weather,
Yeah.
climate and
Yeah, so
everything like that?
there are. Yep. I haven't got like a wave. There's like the waves push and shift the boat around. It's possible to like if you're there are some areas of the map where there is a lot of ice, so you need to avoid crashing your ship. Like you can just die because your ship sinks, not because you die. So you need to not protect the boat, but you need to ensure the boat does not collide with icebergs when you're like, because some areas there'll be like a dense amount of ice and you need to get through it without damaging the ship too much in order to get to like a high quality fishing area, for example. There's storms that lower your visibility. There's like different weather conditions, like there's storms, there's snowy days, there's like foggy days, to sort of change the atmosphere up and aesthetics, but also provide different ways for the player to make the mistakes. I would really love to do something that plays with that like concept of massive ocean, big waves, but it's a little out of scope.
Capsizing? No, I get that. I get it.
But yeah, it's a little. It just doesn't quite fit with the actual like mechanics that are already in the game. With the like idea, a big wave comes by and knocks you off your boat, and then you have to cover somehow. I think there's a different version of this game that potentially would support that though. But yeah, I've tried to integrate like environmental effects quite a lot.
Yeah,
That's part of being you're in the Arctic,
Yeah, no, I love the visuals and just like of what you have created and just like the atmosphere. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like when I watch it, it gives me just goosebumps and this sort of terror just being in it. Like like it does give you that vibes of the Deadliest Catch. At any point,
Yeah.
you don't know, you might not make it the next day. I see there was I think when I watched, if I remember correctly, there was a like you had like a gun to shoot a
Yep.
crab. Can we talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit and like can you elaborate? So there will be somewhat combat with
There is combat, yeah.
animal. Okay.
Yeah. So stuff, you're fishing, and as a result of your fishing, your threats will board the ship, and you got to fight them off, and you have a couple of tools to do that. Their priority is not even to fight you, though. They just want to sink the ship and get you out of there. Like
Okay.
you were just like a pawn in this situation. But yeah, the combat, again, think like Resident Evil jank in first person, not
Yes.
Resident Evil 7, but older Resident Evils. And that's kind of how it works. You have like an infinite ammo melee weapon and then like a limited ammo gun as well. And that's like free aim. So it's not like you don't. It used to actually be point and click, where literally if you had the gun equipped on an enemy, it would just shoot. But now there's a little bit more actual mechanic in there. But yeah, there's a little bit of combat. I'm expanding that as the game comes out. And so basically, the game is like you could hit credits. A couple of people have hit credits now, but now that I've hit that point in production, I'm just on the scope of what's in the game and polishing what's there, and adding more variety and more detail.
So will that mean
as
that we might get the game this year? Before that.
But that I think I have actually posted that in one of the blogs. But yeah, I am planning to get it done this year, but no promises because it's just me. So
No, I get it. I was trying to keep my hopes high because I need to get my hand on some Krabby so I can stream it. Like that's my biggest thing. Like I really do think you have a lot of great aspects to this game that definitely piques my interest. But like I said, once I saw that crate, that was the hook. That hooked me. Once I saw the
Yeah.
crate with all the legs, I was like, "What the fuck am I watching?" I like get
Yeah.
goosebumps thinking about it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, if it, I mean, I whenever you just do decide to drop it, I think that it's gonna be dope, and I would love to have you
Thanks.
back if you're ever interested to do a live playing of your game, Grab Me, and then we could talk about it while I'm shooting crabs in the face with a rifle.
Yeah. Sounds good.
I bet. Is there a day night cycle, and is there like a if there is there like different elements that you will face during those days and nights?
Yeah, gotcha. Um, no, right now there isn't a day-night cycle, but I've been considering integrating something like that to give the game more of like a fixed rhythm. This is the sort of iteration I'm talking about, where it's like it maybe is missing something along those lines. It's a bit of a balance of giving the player enough time to complete their task, and also making sure that if okay maybe there's more threats at night. We make sure that the player is not totally overwhelmed, or we have a way for the player to sort of skip through the night. It's a bit awkward because the player's always on the boat. There's no like safe harbor essentially for you to go to. Compared to something like Dredge, where like at night you kind of want to get home. So that's kind of what this like phase of production is now. Is just like iterating on those elements. And I've got a beta group playing, and we're trying to figure out. They're providing feedback, and I'm just slowly working through and trying to improve the game and make it something really juicy to play, and keep it short. That's the tough part.
Yeah,
Because I don't want it to be super long.
yeah. How did you go about like doing a research like for this like to make this game? Did you go like actually buy some crab? Well, go to the market to see crabs. I know
Yeah.
you said they were expensive, so
Yeah.
and how did you get the modeling between how like they look and just their movements and stuff like that? Was that a
Yeah,
hard process or?
Yes. Well, the,
Yes.
the research is the easy one. That's like YouTube video playlists of Deadliest Catch. That's it.
I'm
It's
not gonna
like
lie, I'm gonna
this-
watch
it's
Deadliest Catch
these-
after this.
It's not a great show, but like these YouTube playlists are good because it's just like it's like big hauls and drama. So I just go to the big hauls moments because I want to see like how do they actually interface with the cranes, and how do they pull these traps up? Because I have to do some abstraction because this is a solo boat, so you're alone on this boat. You're not there with other people. The friend swap sequel to the game can happen later when I find someone who can do the net code. The So I have to bring like, okay, this is a system that is like, how does one person operate that? And that's where that abstraction and sort of slightly futuristic setting allows me to make that work.
Mm-hmm.
The crabs themselves are a nightmare. There's like two factors. There's the crabs you catch and the crabs you catch, getting their movement. People describe them as spiders. I guess they are very similar.
A little bit.
They're modeled off real crabs. Like nearly all the crabs in the game are modeled off real crabs. That's the reference. They're just like cool, gross things to look at up close. And I just model them by hand and then just like use reference to get the textures somewhat close. And then like iterate, and then for the other crabs, I try to like push the design a bit more. But there's a basis in something real always. Then, but the big ones, the movement and the legs especially, getting them. It's like an iteration of what I did in KILLBUG. So in KILLBUG, it's a first-person game in an arena, and all the bugs can climb over any surface.
Okay.
And they can go upside down. They can go walls. So I took some tech I wrote for that into this. So it's a similar sort of technology where they can climb along any surface, and then their legs adapt to the surface that they're on, and then I mix that with some sort of AI navigation stuff that I wrote in order to get them to actually get to the player.
Okay.
So it's a mix of procedural animation and hand animated stuff to actually like get them moving around. And it's tough because the hardest thing is the boat is quite small and the crabs are quite big. So dealing with that has been sort of an ongoing problem, and it's still not perfect. And I'd like to.
Gotcha.
I really want. I don't know. The legs are kind of the whole thing. The vibe, it all comes from the legs. So really nailing just how they animate and is I think what delivers on that fantasy or horror, I guess.
Yeah, I get you. It sounds like you need another playtester that might be named Soavecito who will give feedback on anything that has to do with the ocean. So I think
Yeah.
if you, um, I wanted to ask like when you are fully finished with this game and you
Mm.
have people have the opportunity to play it, what is the vision or what do you want players to take out of their experience with crab meat?
Well, that's a good one. Um, One, I guess like there's like an element of like respect for the ocean, but
Okay.
um, like the vibe, the overall feeling is dread of more than just like these sort of otherworldly threats. Um, yeah, that's and like yeah, and then the appreciation of those quiet moments. Like, it's both. It's both dread and oh, that's nice. That's a nice place to be. I want to give you both simultaneously. So I hope that's what people.
So you want to give people like a beautiful horror, like hey, this is
Yeah,
capital, like enjoy the scenery, death and crabs. My,
yeah,
now I wanted to like to talk about more. Like I kind of got off of this, but are we kind of talked about combat, but is there other things that we might see that we will fight, like sharks or something mythological, like if a kraken
there's
or a
some
Loch
bigger
Ness?
things.
Okay, okay.
There's some other things for sure that you'll encounter. But I definitely don't want to spoil what those are.
No, no, no. Listen, I am the reporter. I'm trying to get the as much juice as like you want to give me. you
I gotta
know?
save something for the players, you know,
Yeah, no,
and
I
for
get
you when
it.
you play it live.
I'm terrified at this. One more question I wanted to ask before I ask like some of the things that freak you out, and we'll talk more a little bit more about horror. But if
Yeah.
you could name a horror or just a game, it doesn't have to be a horror game. If you could name a game in general that best describes you as your personality, which one would that be?
A video game.
A
Oh my
video game.
god,
I know I'm asking the hard questions. Welcome to Whispers.
that's a. So people always ask you like what your favorite game is, and that's like
No, no, no. I don't care
I don't
about
really have a favorite.
that. Don't, because that question is so. I hate that question because like I can't even tell you what my favorite video game is because it always changes. Like, and I don't mean that in a
Yeah,
bad
yeah,
way. It's just because like who I can't say I'm gonna still have the same feelings when I play something tomorrow. It might change. So like I
yeah.
don't know.
You know what? It's just like I think it's more aspirational
Sure.
than than I think I am. But I think it is a recent game that I played, but it really hits these sort of levels. It's got a lot of layers to
Sure.
its sort of weirdness, and it's is Indica was it's a sort of surrealist
Yeah, I know, and that
first
game is
person.
wild.
No, yeah, so the surreal narrative set in Russia, and it's archaic. It's got weird mechanics. It's got a cool setting that I think. As I read weird like old books. I don't really read a lot of modern
Yeah.
writing. Like Dostoevsky's like one of my favorite writers. So like I'm into religious history. So like it has all this stuff that is really cool, and then it's just a fucking weird, funny game. The
Yeah.
writing is so funny
I agree.
within that context, right? And to me, yeah, that was a really special game for a start. So anyone who hasn't played Indica should play Indica because it's a wild
I
ride.
100% agree
And,
because I've never seen a game throw so many things at you and low key work because it literally you're
yeah,
playing a driving simulator. Even the trailer of them explaining the game would just felt like so much. Like how the fuck did they have time to develop all this stuff? Racing simulator, fucking RPG, like collector, beat 'em up. Like I'm just like, yo, what? But I thought that
yeah,
game would just had a little bit of everything that just made me. I kept asking like, what the fuck am I playing? and it just my curiosity just made me want to beat it. And the kid, not you're gonna make me play Indica later. Like,
Yeah, and the game bullies you for asking that question anyway.
yeah, absolutely,
'Cause
absolutely.
The story and I don't know, the ending was great.
Yes,
It's awesome. So yeah, I think definitely aspirational.
Sure.
I think the way that they handled the setting and the tone and stuff just like resonates with me a lot.
Yeah, no, I think I respect the answer. I think that's phenomenal. Um, now I want to touch about a little bit about like horror as far as just like more personal, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Do you have any fears?
Yes. So I don't think it's relevant to crab meat, but I am afraid of not the ocean
Okay.
because I'm happy to be on the open. When I haven't been scuba diving, but I've been snorkeling,
Sure.
and I can't deal with that feeling. You don't know if you've worn snorkeling goggles, but they kind of close off your peripheral vision,
Yes.
and I just can't do that because I'm like, if I know there's no sharks here, and I think I was snorkeling in Queensland at the time, and I'm like, I can't. There could be sharks, and I won't see them because I've lost an element of my perception.
It's the fear of the unknown.
So
I'm telling you, that is what fear is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could
Because
happen.
it was beautiful. This is
Yeah.
when we were snorkeling in the coral, like off the Whitsundays near, which is north of Australia, northeast, and it's just like the weather was beautiful, fish were like pretty, and there was a coral reef. The other thing was there was a reef and then like a cliff, like a reef cliff, where like as you're swimming out, you see it just drop to
Oh
nothing.
no.
Yeah. So Subnautica had that moment where I had really in for really pretty in that first area, and then as you get out, you'll find those like holes that are a bit deep, and the just the way they treated the fog and the sort of drop off to the deeper parts of that game. Oh man, it totally like pulled me back to that time. So that's definitely a heavy fear for me.
Yeah, no, you just describing that made me I had a little cold sweat go down my back because I don't no I guess I totally get that when your senses are cut off you start to, because you don't know but there's always a chance, and I can't.
Yeah.
Did that fear play a inspiration to while developing crab meat? Did you add any of that aspects of your own personal fear into your game?
I don't know. If I did, it probably would be subconscious or not intentional. There are things locked away, and there's stuff that comes. You sort of drag it out of the ocean, and there's stuff in there that you're not expecting.
Okay.
No, I think it's, to me, this is like the game designer who like is sort of scared of other things. They're like scared of the world's systems that are, they're not like, there's no big scary cabal running the world, right? But there are these systems in place that are controlling our lives.
Yeah.
And as a designer, you can like literally mind map out these systems, and you can see how they fuck with your lives, like banks, things, or health insurance and stuff like that.
Oh, listen, we could.
Yeah, I understand. It's not as bad here, but
All right, moving, packing my shit.
That's it.
If I'm gonna pack up my family, we're coming.
There's that plays a big part, and it's like that's the thing that got worse over time as I got older. Maybe it's just a sort of awareness of the state of things, and it's being really interested in history as well. You sort of see how humanity has evolved over time as a civilization technologically, but maybe not morally. We think we're so much better than medieval humans.
Yeah,
ancient humans, right?
100% agree with that. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you? If you don't mind me, you don't have to tell me.
I don't know. No, I think I turned 33 recently.
Wait, you say you think?
Yeah, I don't. I just don't ever know how old I am exactly.
No worries, though. No worries. No. All right, nah.
2025. Yes, 33. Yeah.
Okay,
I just
perfect.
did the math.
The only reason I ask is because like I'm 31, so like we are very in tune
Pretty close, yeah.
to like our live like experiencing a good portion of technology being
Mm.
just on the cusp of learning what it is, and then it just fucking exploding, and how
Yeah,
much of
yeah,
it played a factor. We get a little taste of both sides, and I wanted to
yeah.
touch upon what you said is just like I think it's definitely more awareness. I think it just, but we've never been in this stage where okay, technology has boomed in this massive, in such a short span of time. So,
Mm.
which again, it brings it to horror because it's just like horror is all around us, and I guess I'm using my platform to show people like, yes, it's scary, it could be vile or terrible, but I'm trying to desensitize it or make people more comfortable with it because it's a daily we deal with it in our daily lives. It could be something super insignificant or it could be something tragic, but it's all
Yeah.
around us and we shouldn't shy from it. We shouldn't censor it. I think we should embrace it and just figure out how to live alongside it and continue moving with our lives because you can't live in fear, which is why whispers is kind of a thing because like yeah. But I have two more questions for you because we are getting close to the end of the live stream. One of the questions is if I met you in real life, which I hope you seem
Yeah.
like a phenomenal human being, and I think I would love to eat one of
Thanks.
your cooking one day, so I'm gonna make that
Yeah.
happen. Um,
Well, when you're in Australia, I'll make you something.
yeah, bet. Say we meet in person and I was like, oh my gosh, I know you're a game developer. What would and I'm aspiring one that I would love to get into game development. What is the best advice you would
Mm.
be able to give me to get started?
I'll try to be quick about it too, because it's a long topic.
No, it's okay.
Find. I mean, if like, don't worry so much about getting into the industry. Just make stuff and find an artistic craft. And I don't mean that in terms of like art, as in visual arts. I mean, making games, making all that stuff is a craft. Like, find a process and a craft that fulfills you, and a way of working that fulfills you, so that you can stay motivated to keep making stuff. Whether that's game jams or making little solo projects, or like, don't feel like you have to just do what everyone, or your mates are doing this but it doesn't really vibe with you. Just do what works for you, because if you're doing stuff you're going to get better, because that's everyone will tell you that, right? Like, if you do stuff you will get better. It's just time. So you need to find a craft that works for your brain. You need to teach yourself, whether that's with videos on YouTube or going to university, like, to find the bit that's your style and approach. um, yeah, don't let anyone tell you how to make stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that's good advice. And then with my final question is there anything that you would like to tell viewers that are listening now or anybody who's going to listen down the road? Basically, the last couple minutes is the floor is yours. Like, is there any last few words you would like to say?
um, I mean, I hope anyone who plays crab meat in the end enjoys it, and I guess if people are interested, they can follow. I'm actually doing live streams of development over on Twitch. If they go look for Searching Interactive, it's the studio that I'm technically doing everything under. Um, you can find me online. I'm just Nicholas McDonnell. If you search me on Blue Sky or Twitter or TikTok, I think I'm on there as Searching Interactive. Um, but yeah, like, I'm pretty open. I guess if people want to talk about game dev, like, I'm keen to like play people's demos and prototypes and give feedback as well. Like, I don't know. I feel like I've done a lot and haven't. I try to give back a lot locally, but that's just happy to give people feedback on their pitches or their playtests. Um, you know, I've been around a bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be a
Thank
part
you.
of Whispers, and I look forward to playing Crab Meat when it officially drops. Hopefully this year.
Yeah.
Gotta pray.
I guess hopefully for me too. I got to do the work.
Yeah. So get off this so you could. Like, no, I'm just kidding. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 61 of Whispers of Horror with your boy Suavecito. And last but not least,